UEFA provided us with some major dopamine with this UCL knockout stage draw, and this year it's shaping up to be something very special, and it's definitely something that's going to be discussed here today. Let's talk about it on a game-by-game basis, and then we'll discuss how far Barca can actually reach in this tournament, considering their draw. Firstly, we have PSV versus Arsenal. Now, PSV has played decently recently, and by decently I mean they played a very good game versus Juventus at home. And it wasn't just a good game in terms of they defended well as a smaller team against a bigger team. They actually played football. It was pure football. It was chances being generated, and they played some really good football overall against Juventus. I know Juventus isn't the best team this season, but still a team with European pedigree, with history. So for PSV to perform that well with their squad compared to Juventus's team, they definitely put a message out there. Arsenal, though, they're very strong defensively, although they do not have too much attacking threat. Gabriel Jesus is not that guy anymore, and I think he's injured anyways again. Havertz is definitely not that guy. Saka's injured. It's going to have to come down to Nwaneri, who's 10 years old. Martinelli, who's barely that guy, and even then it's like iffy. And it's going to have to come down to Trossard, who's half decent. But overall, Arsenal are more of a defensive unit rather than an attacking force. Then we've got Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. Now, this is a monster matchup. Everyone knows this is a Madrid derby, but this is a monster matchup because Atletico Madrid now are a strong team again, like they were in 2014, 2016, 2017, whatever it may be. They're a strong team now. They have a strong defense, strong midfield, and their attack is very dynamic. Giuliano Simeone, the manager's son, has been playing very well this season. Griezmann, of course, Griezmann's been playing very well, of course, that's usual. And they have a very dynamic option of Alvarez or Sorloth. And this has changed Atletico Madrid this season because that coupled with their strong midfield and defense has once again made them a threat against bigger teams. They're not a team that you want to watch in terms of they're playing pure football, but they know how to get the job done against bigger teams. They did it against Barcelona this season, although that was already kind of more of a fortunate outcome considering Barca missed chances rather than Atletico Madrid denying chance creation opportunities. Still, they got the job done. We've got PSG versus Liverpool, and now this is easily the matchup to watch because Liverpool are easily the most consistent team this season. They're not the team with the highest peak, that's Barcelona, but they're the most consistent team this season for their level. I mean, they've won like so many games. They're on top of the Premier League table by 5 or 7 points. They top the UCL group undefeated, and I think they won every game actually, but undefeated. And they've just been unbelievable this season. And of course, they have a output machine in Salah. They have a defensive unit in terms of Van Dijk with Konate, and they've just been very good. But what's interesting here is that PSG, once they played Manchester City in that match day 7 or 8 of the group stage, they found momentum. They found a spark in themselves, and now they play superbly well as a unit. And that's not something you want to admit as a Barca fan, but they play superbly well. And they have a very strong midfield. João Neves, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz. The way they circulate the ball is just great. And their front three is very dynamic once again. They have Dembele playing in a sort of a right half space and a false nine role. They have Kvaratskhelia, who's been a great signing from them, instant impact. And they have Barcola, who's been immense since Mbappe left, and now they don't have Mbappe. They don't have a player who they kind of are forced to rely on because of his stature. And although PSG now are a very strong team, the only thing I do see with them is their defense. And historically, PSG in the bigger games, their defense has been extremely shaky, and I mean extremely. From their goalkeeper to Marquinhos was still there, absolute loser, that guy. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but the way he's lost games is just shameful for Marquinhos in big games. And that's the only thing with them. Also, their fullbacks, Nuno Mendes, who I like a lot, and Hakimi, have been unreal this season. But the only thing I have with them is they are very, very attacking oriented, and they're not as good positionally with positional awareness. And that might be the only issue with them. Nonetheless, that's going to be the matchup to watch this round and probably for the next couple of rounds. Then we've got Club Brugge versus Aston Villa. This is just a typical, unfortunate matchup for the neutral watcher. It looks more like a Europa League matchup, but I'm expecting Aston Villa to get through here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bruges get through based on their performance against Atalanta, who are a serious team. I'm not sure what happened with them. Then we've got Barca versus Benfica. Now, we're going to talk about Barca more after we discuss these rest of the games, but Barca versus Benfica, away is going to be a very difficult game for Barcelona. Benfica are one of the teams where their home field plays a massive advantage compared to other teams' home fields, like Barcelona's, because they don't even have the Camp Nou right now. But you expect Barca to get through this. Barcelona have been easily the top two teams this season in terms of peak, in terms of performance, in terms of overall this season. They've been top two, coupled with next to Liverpool. So you expect Barca to get through that. We've got Borussia Dortmund versus Lille. Lille have been decent this season. Borussia Dortmund not so much. They've kind of been there through fortune because they're, I think, placed 11th or 12th in the Bundesliga, and that is not something to be fond of if you're Borussia Dortmund, considering their history, considering where they should be. I still expect Borussia Dortmund to get through, although Lille have a very interesting team. They played an immense game versus Real Madrid in the group stage, and they have a strong defense. They have a decent midfield, and they have a very, very fun to watch attack. If Jagrova comes back, he's going to be important for them. Jonathan David, of course, is a very important player for them, and they're going to be a team that's going to pose an attacking threat as well as being, stable defensively. We've got another league matchup in between Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen. Now, this is going to be interesting because they've played recently, and Bayer Leverkusen dominated Bayern, and I mean dominated Bayern. Let's go take a look at the stats of this right here, actually. Let's go to the Bundesliga. Let's go to Bayern Munich. And in that game, Bayern Munich didn't have a shot at all, let alone on target or off target. They didn't have a shot on all for 72 minutes. I remember seeing it. And you have to think, after seeing that match, and then after seeing how Bayern performed against Celtic at home, are they even a threat at all for the UCL this season? Because obviously they're not at the level they used to be, but they have been very poor, and I mean very poor. We take a look at their recent game against Leverkusen that ended 0-0. I mean, they had two shots, and both of them came after the 75th minute, and they generated only 0.05 xg. So they were basically non-existent in that game. Listen, Bayern can still show up here. It's a Champions League. If any team turns on and snaps on in this second part of the season, they want it to be now. But off current form, Bayer Leverkusen are going to be one of the teams that can make the semifinal here. And I'm expecting them to actually beat Bayern in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if Bayern goes through, but Bayer Leverkusen is my pick for this matchup. And finally, we've got Feyenoord versus Inter Milan. Now, Feyenoord played a very good game, both legs, against AC Milan. Of course, the second leg, it was more so of a red card mistake, similar to what Araujo did versus PSG last season. But Theo did it for Milan this season to get knocked out. Either way, I think Milan should have went through there in terms of with the squad they have. I mean, the players they have are just very good in some positions, but they didn't manage to make it happen with the new manager. I'm expecting Inter to get through this one. Inter are more structurally secure defensively. They don't have the attacking threat that AC Milan do, but they're defensively much stronger. And their counterattack with their fullbacks, because their strikers are not going to be the players that are going to orchestrate the counterattack. It's more so their fullbacks and Barella and Kalanoglu. Dumfries with DeMarco are very good on the counter. And then if Lautaro, Taremi, Thuram, whoever may be up top, are on their game with their finishing, I could see this being easy for Inter to take. But these are the matchups, and it's a Champions League. Anything could happen. I mean, for all we know, PSV go through, Atletico Madrid go through, PSG go through, Bruges go through. All the teams you don't think will go through, that could happen. It's not like all guaranteed. These teams are gonna win because they're better historically or overall this season. That's not how it works. That's the thing about the Champions League. Although I'm always someone that's preferred the deserving team to go through. But if you take a look at the overall bracket, let's scroll up over here on the UCL Twitter page. We've got the overall bracket on the left and right side of this. So on the left side, we have PSV versus Arsenal. Either of those teams will play against Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinal. Then we've got PSG versus Liverpool against either Club Brugge or Aston Villa in the quarterfinal. Then we go to the right side of the bracket. We've got Benfica or Barcelona against Dortmund or Lille in the quarterfinal. we've got Bayern versus Leverkusen against either Feyenoord or Inter in the quarterfinal on the right side. Now, on the face of it, if you look at the internet right now, everyone's saying Barcelona, oh my God, they've gotten the easiest draw in the history of the UCL. They're literally saying this, like they're actually saying this. Listen, there's no necessarily easy draw in the UCL because it is the UCL knockout stage. It's a Champions League, and any team can cause any team issues. Now, on the face of it, of course, Benfica is a much more favorable draw than PSG for Barcelona. But if we actually take a look at, because the main issue here was that, oh, Barca placed second and they got this lucky of a draw, and Liverpool placed first, but they got PSG. Sure, but if we take a look at the actual whole thing about it, if Barca beat Benfica, their quarterfinal opponent, let's just say for the sake of it, will be Dortmund. If Liverpool beat PSG, their quarterfinal opponent will be probably Aston Villa. Now, in my opinion, I think Barcelona have an obviously easier round of 16 matchup than Liverpool and PSG, but I think Barca would have a more difficult quarterfinal matchup. So it's that overall Barca has had it easier, yes, but they don't have it unbelievably easier. And overall, I think both sides are not necessarily even, but closer than people have made it out to be. I think Barcelona, Dortmund, Bayern, Leverkusen, Inter are all like half serious clubs at the very least. Arsenal, Madrid, Atleti, PSG, Liverpool are the teams on the left side. So overall, it's a bit more even than people think, but it's definitely not the luckiest draw in the history of the UCL that Madrid fans are making out to be. Now, let's talk about how Barca can fare in the rest of this competition. So let's go to Barcelona's recent upcoming games. They play against Las Palmas tomorrow. I think that's away, and that's a must-win game if they want to keep competing in the league with that comeback they recently made on points. So they play Las Palmas tomorrow, and that shouldn't be a difficult game. Then they play Atletico Madrid at home in the Copa del Rey, and 3 days after that, next week, during the week. And this is where it gets interesting, because if we look at Atletico Madrid's and Real Madrid's schedules across the next month and a half, they have much more difficult schedules than Barcelona. And specifically Atletico Madrid, they play against Barca and Madrid 5 times in the next month and a half, plus other big teams. Then we've got Barca versus Sociedad, and then is the first leg Barca versus Benfica away. Now Barca are going to have to play Benfica at home in the second leg, but they will have to play away in both the quarterfinal and the semifinal in the second legs if they do make it there. But at this stage of the season, you can't take any game for granted. It doesn't matter if they're playing Las Palmas, Benfica, Bayern, Real Madrid, doesn't matter, Atletico Madrid. You cannot take a game for granted. Any team can cause issues now, and teams can burn out. So they have to be on top of it, Barcelona. I see them getting to the semifinal of this tournament, and if they're serious with how they performed this season, if they're a serious club, they must make it to the semifinal at the very least. And I mean the very least, if this team is serious. I'm gonna have more of a discussion on specifically Barcelona. This has been more of a review of the draw, but Barca need to ensure that they make it to the semifinal, because this is a very favorable situation for them in the draw, and simply they have to make a deep run. I mean, they don't have to play PSG. They got away with that. They have to play Benfica. That's more favorable, and they must capitalize on this. So yeah, this was the UCL draw for the rest of the tournament, I guess. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I mean, it's UCL time. I mean, this is where it gets very interesting this season. This is exactly when people start watching the sport even more. It becomes more entertaining. It becomes more inclining to watch and follow on social media and all that sort. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the next video. It should be a review for the Las Palmas game tomorrow. And also, I'll do a specific Barca video for how far they can actually make it in the Champions League. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the next video.